Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. My name is Jason Hillier, and for the next 15-20 minutes, maybe just a little bit longer, we'll be talking about Arctic Kingdom's polar bears and whales of Cumberland Sound, an exciting new trip that we're launching in 2019. So I see there's just one or two other people joining, so maybe we'll wait just a few more seconds as they log in and join us. I will remind everyone that for the duration of the presentation, you will be on mute, but you are able to type questions into the little window on the bottom of your screen in the control panel. And time should allow us to be able to answer those questions at the end of the presentation. But it's by some chance we run out of time, then I will certainly personally follow up with you shortly thereafter the presentation. Okay, so let's jump right in. First, for those that don't know me, just a very quick introduction. As I mentioned a second ago, my name is Jason. I am a VP of Product Management here at Arctic Kingdom. I'm also a part-time expedition leader when they let me get away from my desk. It's one of the great perks of the job to be able to travel into the north and to be able to showcase the amazing scenery, the iconic wildlife, and the Inuit culture that is prevalent and is interdispersed through all of our different trips. So in today's webinar, we're going to talk a little bit about who is Arctic Kingdom, for those that don't know us. And we'll talk about where we're going. So where is Cumberland Sound exactly? What is the safari experience? The accommodations that we have in our camp. And as well, we'll talk a little bit about the Arctic Kingdom team, how you would reach out to us, how you would find us. And like I mentioned a moment ago, if there's room and time for any questions, we'll certainly try to entertain those at the end via the chat window that you see in your control panel. Okay, so a little bit about Arctic Kingdom. For those that don't know much about us, we are the global leaders in land-based travel in the Canadian Arctic. So we specialize in very small group experiences throughout the Canadian Arctic, and we actually are headquartered in the Arctic as well. So we don't just play here or run tours here. We don't just come up for a short visit a couple of times a year. This is our headquarters in Iqaluit on Baffin Island. I'll show you a map in a moment so you can get a sense of where that is. But this is our bread and butter. This is our core competency. We've been doing this for the better part of almost 20 years now, and we are the pioneers of the Arctic Safari. Unlike any other Arctic tour company, we offer a polar bear tour virtually year-round. So we begin our programming in March, and we run right up until mid to late November. And we'd like to say that we have a polar bear tour for every season of the year. And I like to challenge anyone to find another tour operator who has that inventory of experiences, that diversity of experiences. And I welcome you to take a look at our website and browse around what other different experiences that we have available to you. One thing that really makes Arctic Kingdom special is our unmatched expertise, in the sense that we have unparalleled access to some very remote locations through the many years that we've been doing tourism in the north and working with scientists and filmmakers as well. So we've been able to really do some amazing exploration in many, many different regions of the Canadian Arctic and into Greenland as well. Again, another thing that sets us apart are our staff naturalists, our dive professionals, and our Inuit guides. Our Inuit guides are critical to the success of all of our experiences. They are effectively our guides out on the land. This is their backyard that they've welcomed us into, and it's their knowledge of the land and of the animals and of the weather that allows us and you to be successful in our wildlife encounters in the high north. Private bespoke experiences and scheduled departures are our mainstay, in that what we will be talking about today is one of our scheduled departures. So there are set dates throughout the year that you as a traveler or as a travel agent can book yourself or your client into. And we also do completely off-the-shelf, sorry, not off-the-shelf, that's the wrong expression, completely private and bespoke experiences. I guess off-the-shelf means it's kind of canned, but that's really not the case. So whatever you see within this presentation can be tailored to that family group, to that VIP who wants something just a little bit different, or we can alternate this with another location or marry it up to a different location, or maybe run it at a different time of year. Lots of different options available. So that's something that we pride ourselves in being able to do as well. So let's talk a little bit about the polar bears and whales of Cumberland Sound trip. And that's really why we're all here today. This trip has departures that are in July and in August, the latter part in July into early August. It is a tented safari camp on land. So for those that are somewhat familiar with African safaris, this is akin to a mobile tented safari camp. There is a fantastic possibility and high probability, although I'll never guarantee it, chance to see polar bears, walrus, bowhead whales, beluga, and even more. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few moments. With our Inuit guides that are, critical team members as part of the expedition team, we'll be able to really delve into Inuit culture and learn more about how Inuit have been able to thrive and prosper in this land. We'll be able to talk about it through naturalist guided walks and hikes, and how their culture allows them to thrive, frankly, in an environment that is somewhat hostile and very foreign to many people. And having these conversations with our guides, I think, really is important, because it allows them to impart their knowledge and love of the land to our clients. And that's, if anything, it's one of the most important things that people take away from our trips. It's not just the photograph of the bear. The conversation that they've had with the locals to really gain a new appreciation for where they are. So a little bit more about the trip. This is an exploration by land and by boat, primarily by boat. So we will use a boat similar to the one that you see here to basically run day trips from our base camp into various different areas. So that may be visiting Kayak Territorial Park, which we'll talk about more in a few seconds. Maybe we're going to go down into Auyuittuq Fjord and visit the entrance of Auyuittuq National Park, which is just a gorgeous place to visit if anyone's never had the chance to go. It's just stunning geography and scenery, and it's the gateway at this Auyuittuq Pass, which is where we would boat to, where one would hike to Mount Asgard and Thor Peak, which I believe is the largest uninterrupted cliff face in the world. Though that being said, it's about 20 kilometers or so in the park, so we don't actually get to it. But it's pretty spectacular just to get to the mouth of this pass in and of itself. So that's certainly going to be a highlight of the trip if conditions allow us to get there, of course. Okay, so the fine print, right? The devil's in the details. This is a 7-day, 6-night trip. It is a very small group in the sense that we have a maximum capacity of 8 clients. So that allows us to be flexible, that allows us to be accommodating. It gives us the ability to essentially create a very private departure for our clients. The services of Arctic Kingdom expedition leaders and local guides, that goes without saying. That is your expedition staff team. And we will have gourmet meals in camp. So our executive chef prepares 3 beautiful meals a day as part of our expedition team. So we really pride ourselves in our food and the meals that we're able to deliver to you in this extreme location. I'd like to also add, point out that if you are to join us on this trip, there's some pretty amazing things that one can do in Iqaluit, either pre or post trip as well. So that can include aerial tours We can do some kayaking or hiking in and around Iqaluit as well. So ask us about what or how we can add on to this trip. Maybe there's another trip that you would like to participate on, another safari that we can do back to back with this. So lots of different options available to you. Okay, so where exactly is Cumberland Sound? Well, if you take a look at the map on the bottom left here, what you're seeing is a Google Earth image of Eastern Canada and the Canadian Arctic. And then in the yellow circle, you're basically seeing what's enlarged here in the map that's on the right, and this is actually Cumberland Sound. So Cumberland Sound is the western arm of the Labrador Sea. It's located between Baffin Island's Hull Peninsula and Cumberland Peninsula. So if I can just activate my little laser pen here, which is kind of cool. Hopefully, whoops, that didn't work. The Hull Peninsula is this body of land that's to the immediate left of the body of water that you see in this map right here. And then the Hull Peninsula, that's the Hull Peninsula, and the Cumberland Peninsula is the body of land that's north, where you see these little pins on the map. So Auyuittuq, Kingate Fjord, and Cucurton Island. They're northeast, and they are on the Cumberland Peninsula, or near the Cumberland Peninsula. So Cumberland Sound is pretty unique in that there's a long history of European whaling here, and there's some pretty significant populations of animals, such as bowhead whales, that migrate here at this time of year, and we'll talk about those more in a moment. There is a Cumberland Sound beluga whale population, and this is a species that resides in this sound all year round. And in the summer months, they will travel from the open water that they'll stay in the winter into the southern end, I guess the northern end, I should say, of the sound. And you can sort of see a little body of water in the upper left-hand corner here that has some green on it. And that's where these beluga whales are actually spending some time in the summer. And although that area is off limits to boaters, as it is a sensitive wildlife area, know that the beluga are traveling through this area and have a very high probability of seeing some while we're here on this trip. Other animals that we would see would be ringed, bearded, harp, harbor, and hooded seals. Lots of migratory birds such as ivory gulls, eider ducks, snow geese, and there are resident around year-round birds such as ptarmigan and ravens that are in the area as well. So if there's any birders listening, it's a great opportunity to see some wildlife that way as well. Excuse me. So the community of Auyuittuq, as you can see from this picture, is extremely scenic, and we're actually looking north up Auyuittuq Fjord here towards Auyuittuq National Park. It's a community that's renowned for its traditional Inuit arts and crafts. We will absolutely aim to visit the Auyuittuq is the Center for Arts and Crafts. And this is basically a famous Center of Arts and Crafts within the community, where Auyuittuq tapestries are being created, screen work is being done, and maybe we have a chance to pick up one of those famous pang knitted hats that are almost ubiquitous through the Arctic. You always know an Arctic traveler if they're wearing a pang hat. So how does one get to Auyuittuq? Well, it's very simple. From Ottawa International Airport, you would depart at 9 a.m. on a Boeing 737. 7 days a week, there are Boeing 737s departing Ottawa. These are commercial flights. We offer air packages on this trip as well. So you'll certainly, when you call us to discuss the program, we'll be able to give you all that information. Excuse me. And then in Iqaluit, it's a simple transfer. You're changing planes into a large twin propeller aircraft, which can be up to 42 seats. It's an ATR. It has a flight attendant, twin crew. It is a large commercial aircraft, and all of these are commercial flights with set departure times. So it's a very easy way to get around. Certainly, it's no different than flying anywhere else in North America or the world, for that matter. Once we arrive in Penguitung, we will travel by the boat that I'd shown you in a slide or two ago, into camp. And so the camp will be set up and ready to go, and we'll be excited to see you there, certainly. We will explore Cumberland Sound and fjords by boat, and certainly with guided walks and hikes as well. So just a real amazing place to visit, to see, a very seldomly visited place. It's epic in its geography and in its wildlife. Let's jump into a little bit about the accommodations. The accommodations are our tented safari camp. And this picture doesn't really do it much justice because, yes, it may look like an ordinary tent, but it's not. These are our Arctic ovens, and they are in and themselves quite warm. They're insulated tents, very spacious. I think the smallest one we have is about 100 square feet. They may or may not come with a vestibule, but they're quite spacious. So this is just an interior shot of one of those tents with two twin beds. As you can see, there's a table, there's hanging cubbies where one can put their clothes. It's certainly not camping as you did as a child, maybe. This is a little bit upscale. We have a shared washroom facility with a shower in camp, so that's a propane on-demand heated shower. There are two twin-size beds in each tent, and there's a large dining tent and a lounge tent with a kitchen as well. So our chef is preparing our amazing food within our dining lounge tent. So what is the safari experience? So similar to an African safari, and the concept of the game drive, we basically employ that here as well. So after a gourmet hearty breakfast, we'll fill up our coffee mugs and we will hop on our boat with a pre-planned destination in mind. So the wind and ice conditions, floating ice conditions will certainly determine ultimately where we're going. But we have some set destinations in mind. So we'll travel by boat. We'll get off the boat, we'll explore on land with our guides, but the goal is to ultimately see wildlife. So whether that's whales or bears that are on the shore or maybe on some ice, our goal is to search for wildlife. And of course, stop to take in the scenery, do some amazing landscape photography, lots of opportunity for photography. And that may very well mean just an iPhone picture, or maybe someone with a 600mm lens that wants to get the close-up of that polar bear from a quarter of a mile away. We have all sorts of photographers, and whether amateurs or serious professionals traveling with us. And I think what's really great about all of our trips is they almost lend themselves to both. We have people that travel with us that bring nothing but a pair of binoculars. So you don't always have to have a camera. What's very special about this location is also our ability to be able to visit not only a territorial park, but a national park. And I did mention these briefly a moment ago. Kayak Territorial Park was first used as a whaling station, and it was charted, I should say, by a Scottish whaler by the name of William Penny back in 1840. And in this territorial park now, there's foundations of the storehouses that were built, I think, in the 1850s. There are huge cast iron pots that were used to render down the whale blubber. There's surviving remnants of an antique whaling boat and vessel that are there with some informative information panels. So there's a lot of deep, rich history here that can be explored in this amazing scenery and scenic area as well. Again, Auyuittuq Park is very close to where we are, and although we won't really travel too far into the park, we expect and hope to be able to get down into Penguitung Fjord so that we can say we at least stepped foot in the park area. So the wildlife, that's one of the big reasons why we are all here, and this area is abundant with wildlife. So whether it's polar bears, bowhead whales, beluga, possibly even narwhal. These are the iconic species, along with the walrus that we will see here as well. The bowhead whale population in this area is is very significant in the sense that, you know, if you're navigating a boat, it's something you even have to be very cognizant of because there are potentially that many bowhead whales. And I'll speak about that in a second. There's some really cool behaviors that are known to be commonplace here at this time of year that we hope to be able to see. And finally, I guess just to mention once again, probably up to 20 or 30 different migratory bird species can be found in this area as well. Everything from the ivory gull to the long-tailed jaeger to snow buntings as a songbird, you know, snow geese and Canada geese as well. Just some shots of the geography in the area, just beautiful, stunning locations. And we aim to not only get you walleyes, but those great vistas as well. We will have inflatable kayaks on hand. This is for a really a stable sort of paddling experience. By no means is anyone traveling around Baffin Island in these in a circumnavigation, but they are very stable. They're very comfortable. And even for the inexperienced first-time paddler, they're really easy to get around in. And it's a pleasure. I've had clients as old as 80 years old who'd never been in a kayak before, paddling around in one of these, and they've thoroughly enjoyed it. So it's a great way to experience the land. As you may or may not know, kayak is an Inuit invention. So we are in the land of the kayak, and what better way to sort of honor the place that we're in by going for a paddle. It's just some beautiful scenery that we hope to see, mirror conditions, low-lying clouds, and breathtaking views. So this is a bowhead whale that's doing a bit of a dive. This is a fluke, obviously, the tail of the whale, so to speak. But this is the behavior that I spoke about that's really special, and I borrowed this image from a scientific paper. But there's behavior that bowhead whales exhibit in this area that's really unique, and very little, frankly, is known about it. But there are places that we know within the sound where bowhead whales are coming in literally for a spa treatment. So they're there to exfoliate. So as you see in this picture here, there's a whale on the very top that hasn't, almost no sloughing. So there's, it hasn't really done much exfoliation. And the whale below has a high degree of sloughing. In other words, it's been exfoliating and rubbing itself on some rocks. So that's pretty cool. And we know some places where this happens, and we certainly hope to be able to see that behavior exhibited while we're there. The bowhead whales are quite well known for this in the area, and this area has been an area of scientific research for the past, I think, 7 or 8 years. A little bit more about the food. I can't stress enough how much we really pride ourselves on the food that we're able to deliver here. We use local ingredients wherever possible. So whether that's the protein such as Arctic char, or maybe it's an edible flower that we've picked on the tundra, we're trying to give back locally by purchasing locally, by doing a little bit of foraging wherever possible. At the end of the day, after your delicious dinner, you're able to sit back in your tent, plug in all your batteries, recharge yourself and your batteries, or simply sit back and relax in our large dining room and tent, look at some pictures, read some books, maybe play a card game or two to get ready for the next exciting day. So many people think about the Arctic, they think about icicles and snowstorms and blizzards. But the Arctic in the summer is, I think, one of the most magical places on Earth. Temperatures can get up to the mid-50s or even higher. I've been in this area in September, and it's been in the low 70s, even in high 60s. So there is absolutely summer in the Arctic. And at this time of year, we're in the land of the midnight sun. So it never gets dark. We'll have 24 hours of daylight, allowing us to have long days on the land if we want. But at the end of the day, we can always step outside and read our book at 3 in the morning if we want, and just take in the magical colors that are associated with that long day. just a couple more iconic shots of the area that we'll be exploring, some of the fjords in the area. Some of these fjords up here are absolutely breathtaking, and hope that you're going to be able to join us up there. So we're always looking for wildlife. I borrowed this picture, if you will, from one of our travel partners, but I think it's sort of telling that you don't always have to have a camera. Sometimes a pair of binoculars is all that you need. So moving along, a little bit about the team. This shot is not from this trip. This is an early May picture, but is representative of the quality of the characters that we have as part of our team members. So on safari on this trip, you would expect to have an Arctic Kingdom expedition leader. We have Arctic Kingdom Inuit guides. They're the ones typically driving the boats. And we also have executive chefs, camp managers, and their assistants. So it's a mix of Inuit guides and then expedition leaders. It's the Inuit guide whose expertise on the land and their knowledge of the animals, combined with our infrastructure, combined with our experience in the north, that gives a very well-rounded experience. And here we see David Briggs, who's our senior expedition leader. David's in the field leading the trip right now as we speak, actually. Our sales and operations team are available to you Monday to Friday from 9 to 5 Eastern time. And we're always here and we're happy to help. And there's no question we haven't heard before. The lady in this picture, Natasha Colley, who some of you may have talked to before, is always ready to answer questions and excited to do so. Our trip logistics team, will be part of the team that will help you join us on this expedition. Our trip logistics team prepares the flight packages, all the briefing materials, the packing list. So there's a very detailed trip briefing guide that you will get when you join us. So that all the information that you need to be warm and comfortable and safe and successful is included in that information. So how do you find us? Simply put, you'll find us online. So arctickingdom.com. You can email us at adventures@arctickingdom.com. Here's our phone number, contact information, or simply speak to your travel advisor, and your travel advisor will work with our Arctic Kingdom sales team to ensure that you get all the information that you need as well. I'll pause just for a second in case someone's writing that down. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for your time. I was hoping to keep this within 30 minutes. Looks like I was able to do so. And what I'll do right now for the next few moments is see if there are any questions or chat messages. And I welcome any questions that you may want to send after the fact. We're happy to answer them for you. And we hope to see you up north. As I can imagine, there's probably some questions that you just don't feel like typing in. So by all means, please just give us a call. We're happy to talk through this experience with you. And we hope to see you up north in 2019. Take care, all the best, and hope to see you soon. Oh, a little question popped in. Do you provide any clothing? We absolutely do. So we have a clothing rental package that's available for you and or your clients to rent. And as well, there are going to be guest promotional Arctic Kingdom branded materials that will be available for clients as well. So whether that's a jacket or a vest or a hat and a water bottle, such like, that was available to you as well. And having just a little bit of a technical glitch here with my questions, so bear with me 1 second. There we go. Have we ever had a trip where we did not see polar bears? That's a really good question. These trips are, we like to say, in the right place at the right time, and it is our goal to find polar bears. In this area, inevitably, we will see a polar bear. I don't recall where we've been out in this part of the country and have not seen bears. Is it possible to not see bears? Absolutely, of course. You know, it's not a zoo. We don't know always where the animals are going to be, but we try everything humanly possible to be able to access that. So that includes, talking to others in the community, talking to families that may be out on the land camping. If it's not just us scouting for the animals, we have other means to try and locate them as well. So it's possible, but in this location, although I would never say guaranteed, there's a very, very strong chance of seeing bears. If you have a trip, if it's really truly polar bears that you're after and it's only polar bears, then I would suggest you have a quick chat with one of our sales specialists or your travel advisor, because we do have other programs focused almost exclusively on polar bears, and that might be the better trip for you. Just a couple more questions as they keep kind of pouring in, so I'll try to answer those. What type of flotation device is provided while kayaking? So there's two different types of flotation devices that we will provide. One will be a PFD floater suit, and the other one may very well be a kayaking dry suit or scuba dry suit. Depends on the operations, but ultimately we don't send people out generally with just a PFD vest style. It's a floater suit or a dry suit. And is this trip an easy activity level? Yeah, absolutely. So every single one of our trips is actually a very easy level. I like to tell people that if you can walk the length of a football field, you can do any one of our trips. You can do as little or as much walking as you want. We've had clients as old as mid 80s, I think 82 or 83. And clients as young as 10 or 12, and they could absolutely do any single one of our trips. These are not strenuous trips. These are not hiking adventures with backpacks or such like that. The activity, if anything, that's an exertion or physical, is just simply walking. That's as easy as it gets. Then a question about triple occupancy accommodations may or may not be possible on this trip, just because of the size of the tents. Putting 3 beds in one of these smaller tents just might not be viable, but I would encourage you to again reach out to our sales team, see if there's any possibility of working something out. Things change all the time with accommodations, and we do have other equipment potentially available to us, so we might be able to work something out. But as the tents are about 100 square feet, 10 by 10 or 10 by 12, fitting 3 beds in there, it's a little tight, but it's not to say we can't do it. So just a couple more questions. And do you need to be able to swim to kayak? Absolutely not. You don't need to be a swimmer to kayaking. We are not planning to swim if we are kayaking, and we do have a support boat or a support kayak in the water with one of our guides when anyone's in the water as well. So I think that's it for the questions. Thanks so much again for joining. If you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be happy to have a chat with you. And take care. We hope to talk to you again very soon.